Hi, it's Mars Beyond from GBC Live. Today we have Sang Lee, CEO and co-founder of DarcMatter. One of those few projects in blockchain area that has made a good noise and got a lot of fans and followers, which is here, DarcMatter, the founder and co-founder.
Co-founder.
CEO,
yep.
And CEO of DarcMatter here. We want to talk to him about his project, what he has done, and how he got in these ideas and so on. Let's go through the topic after his introduction. Let us know about yourself and your background.
Great. Thanks, Mars. We're really glad to be here. Like you said, my name is Sang Lee. I'm the CEO and co-founder of DarcMatter.
Yeah.
We're a global fintech platform that focuses on the asset management space. So we basically disintermediate all the placement agents and investment banks by automating a lot of the paperwork and manual processes and allowing investors from all around the world to access any kind of product that they want to access today. Mm-hmm. If you want to find the right product for your portfolio, right now you have to go to your advisor or go to your bank, but you know that they have a conflict of interest because they can only sell their own products.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't know that whether it's a good idea for you or not, and you're not empowered to make that decision today. We think in the future that all of that intermediation will go away. And obviously blockchain is one of the technologies that we're integrating and growing the ecosystem into so that we can even take what we've done for the past 3.5 years and make it even more inclusive.
Mm-hmm. Nice, perfect. So what happened that you started this product? I mean, what happened this project, DarcMatter, came into this level?
So that's a great question. So I was a aspiring astrophysicist, became financial engineer, but then I ended up graduating at a time when financial engineers were basically public enemy number one. So 2008 was a very bad time to graduate as a financial engineer. The first week I started my job, Lehman Brothers failed. So it was 5 days after I started my new job as an investment banker. And being within the system, if you will, knowing what the real risks and the things that were happening in the industry really got me interested in figuring out a way why this was the way it was. Yeah. And second was why nobody had done anything about it. Mm-hmm. And then I became part of a small group of entrepreneurs in 2012 that basically helped write what we call the Jobs Act. Mm-hmm. It was the first law in the world that allowed crowdfunding. So we deregulated, worked with the SEC very closely. Nice. You fast forward to now, obviously everyone's focused on what the SEC is doing. For the first time in history, people are interested in what SEC is saying.
Because of blockchain.
Exactly, because of blockchain. And I think we're uniquely positioned in that perspective. Mm-hmm. Like, we have the experience of working with a very old industry, with working with the regulators and understanding what the real risks are, and obviously protecting the investors along the way. Innovation is one thing, but you want to protect the participants as much as possible while you're innovating.
So you're in this industry, so you saw where the gap is, you saw what is missing, and based on that you came up with this platform, which is called DarcMatter. So what is the relation between the name DarcMatter and your product?
So DarcMatter was my field of interest and study when I was an aspiring astrophysicist. Right. And the funny thing is, if you look at a lot of the math that finance has, it comes from physics. So it's usually a physics guy became hedge fund guy that takes a theory and modifies it so that it works. So what that led me to believe is that financial services as a whole, if we say it's $100 trillion today, is a lot like DarcMatter, right? Yeah. Sounds scary. Nobody really understands it. They know unknown, but everybody knows it's important. It's important in the way the universe is structured, the way it holds together. And finance is a lot like that. But everybody's kind of outside of the system, and we want to help people understand and obviously become included more.
You were the first one to start this project, or you had some other co-founders?
I had a co-founder and my CTO. The three of us got together. My co-founder and I, we went to college together, but then we went separate ways. She got her MBA. I decided to go a dark route. I became investment banker. Nice. And then later on, we kind of reconverged because I had this idea. She brings different expertise to the table that I don't have. And I bring the financial side to the business.
Nice. Where are you based now? I mean, the headquarters.
So we're headquartered in New York. We have offices in Shanghai, Seoul, as well as Ukraine.
Nice. How do you see China? I mean, why you got in China? And what is your purpose for being here?
So, the first time I came to China was probably 2.5 years ago. I didn't really think anything of it. We have Chinese investors. They invited us over. I was blown away, right? Blown away. You don't have any information on China in the U.S. You're blown away by the sheer scale, by the amount of innovation, by the amount of change that's happening every day. And even though everyone says that it's cordoned off, I think there's a unique opportunity where China becomes a real leader in financial services in the very near future, actually. And we want to be a part of that change, whether by helping more investors find the right products or even automating a lot of the compliance that is concerning to the regulators right now. And obviously providing a better solution that protects the participants is important. And we think China is going to be probably one of the most important markets, if not the most important one, within the next 5 years.
Nice. So your platform, who are the customers, who are the clients in your platform?
Yeah, so since we're a marketplace platform, I guess we have two sides to what we're doing. One side are the asset managers, the fund managers. So these are the guys that are basically managing the money with a specific strategy or expertise to create returns for investors. The investor side, anywhere from an individual accredited investor, financial advisors, family offices, and institutions. And right now there's certain regulatory constraints around which type of investor can invest in this product. But we think with blockchain in the future, we can include more and more investors every day. So if you're an investor in China, in Korea, somewhere in Europe, right now there's no way to access these opportunities unless you know a guy who knows a guy. Literally, that's how business is done, and we want to change all of that.
Nice. So how do you verify those investors that they want to get into your platform?
Yeah, so right now, KYC, AML is very manual, right? And even with crypto projects now, people are talking about KYC as a big problem. It's not actually a problem. So we've automated. It's an informational requirement, and we automate that. So when you enter the system, the system verifies your information, and it KYCs you as well. And then once you're inside the system, now you're part of that ecosystem, so you can participate in any type of offering that you want.
I don't think that we have any platforms like DarcMatter in the market, do we?
No, I think we're very, very unique. First, we're global. And then secondly, we're a marketplace. There are some solutions, but they're software companies, in my opinion. They basically create software for banks so that banks can bring down their costs.
Yeah, it's kind of customized software.
Correct. It's you make it. It's like a SaaS, or you make it for specific users. But it doesn't enhance access. All it does is decrease costs for Wall Street.
Yeah.
It doesn't increase access to the investor.
So as I'm understanding, your platform is a kind of platform that bringing GPs, LPs, or individual investors, hedge funds, all together in one place.
Yeah.
Integrate the kind of platform for them that they can interact and communicate as well.
Correct.
So, do we have these kind of things nowadays? I mean, traditionally.
No, I mean, not even just the fund manager universe, but think about everything in finance, right? Banking. Think about it, right? It's just a bilateral relationship. It's you and the institution and their money. Yeah. Like that's the gatekeeper, right? There is no network effect. You can't grow it. There's no way to actually. There's a huge problem in scale because if you have too many investors, it doesn't work because your costs are too high. So it's better for you to have less and more money per investor, for example, right now, because costs keep going up. And, our system is very unique in that we are not the person selling the product. We just want to enhance that access. So that for the first time, we don't have it today. Wall Street is completely locked up. You have a network that works with each other to strengthen that network.
So can we have one use case for your platform?
Sure.
For our viewers, they want to know just how it works.
Sure. I mean, one of the use cases that people are sometimes very surprised at how broken it is that when a fund manager, or if you want to invest in a product, you have to prove that you have money.
Yeah.
I think we do it for houses.
Yeah.
And that makes sense, right? Because it's one big purchase. Yeah. But this is like, I want to invest $10,000, let's say, into a fund. They require escrow. Escrow costs $500.
Yeah.
And then there's a guy that's checking the contract to make sure that the escrow should be released, and then that takes 2 to 3 weeks. So effectively, from the point that I've made a decision, it'll take me up to, close to a month for that investment to even occur right now.
Yeah.
Our system can automate that instantaneously. So as we're shifting into blockchain, we use a smart contract to make sure that all the conditions of the escrow are met instantly. And then that is verified and the money can be released with almost no cost to both sides. And that's just one of the use cases. But if you look at the investment process, like totally, like if you invest in a different kind of product, you'll have like 5 to 10 pieces of paperwork that individually need to be verified, and all of that will be done by smart contract.
Nice. So your platform, like LPs or investors and other types of users that you have, they try to sell their products, or which one is more, selling or buying, or is equal?
Yeah, so it's really about distribution and the network, right? The need of the investor is that they have to diversify their investments. The need of the fund manager is that they have to connect with investors. And both sides basically are fulfilling that need. But if you were talking about kind of a product and a consumer, then the product is definitely the investment side, and then the consumer is going to be the investor.
Okay, as we are Media for Innovation and Technology, so we are kind of serving the startups and entrepreneurs as well through our media. So how it can affect these parts, like for startups or for like small size companies, how's it could be possible? I mean,
I think in the future, when you start shifting into token economies, when you start shifting into tokenized business offerings where, companies that already exist and have consumers can change their revenue from a fiat model to a token model. And the token model actually creates a virtuous cycle. So right now, the traditional revenue model is, I am the business, you give me the money. That's it. That's the end. And I give you a service. But in the end, you as the consumer become both the company as well as the consumer, right? Exactly. I get rewarded for the activities. And I think in the future, that's one thing, right? That the blockchain will shift in the way startups think and entrepreneurs are thinking about how their clients work. And then the second thing I think is access to capital is going to get easier. If there's better information exchange, if there's a better way for startups and investors to connect, I think in the future it could become very, very efficient. Right now, I'm an entrepreneur. Fundraising is hard. And regardless of whether you're doing a token or a fiat, it doesn't really matter. Fundraising is a hard, full-time job.
It's the same pattern. I mean, it doesn't matter if you're in blockchain or not, and so on. So when your product is going to get launched?
So, like I said, we've been in operation for 3.5 years. We're working on the blockchain right now. We're looking to have kind of the early use cases this year. And then next year, we're going to roll out kind of the second phase of the larger iterations of the smart contracts. But this is not something that has to happen overnight. What we're working with is it's not a store value. It's not one-to-one transfers. It's much more complicated than that. The data sizes are larger. We need more experts. And we're going to spend the time to protect the investors and really create a robust ecosystem, not over-promising and delivering, kind of vaporware.
Exactly. So the product that you're going to have, so that's the question that how go through those LPs, how you go to GPs. I mean, how do you find them? What is your approach?
Yeah, so that's a great question. It's our secret. Both sides really have a need, right? So if you look at the fund managers, they have the need, obviously, of creating not an easier. I'm very careful about using the word easy. It's not easy. A more efficient way to raise capital, not wasting time. And I don't mean like easy money, cheap money. I mean, let's decrease a lot of the paperwork. Investors have this problem of, I need to find these products and I don't know how. And basically, that's how we court both sides. It's a virtuous cycle of we have the products that you need, and then we have the investors that you need to both sides, and that's how we kind of market out.
Kind of chicken and egg.
Exactly. So we're buying a lot of chickens and buying a lot of eggs all the time. And one of the unique advantages that we have had is that we went global very early. A lot of fintech companies are more about staying domestic, staying focused. But we said if we're building a platform, the most important thing is access. It's not us growing faster or making more money. It's access. And so we went global very early, and we're the only ones today.
Yeah, actually, you're actually sharing great opportunities to investors.
Correct.
On one side, in another side to GPs, and that's a beautiful thing that can happen in financial industry. Yeah. So your like the channels that you're choosing, is it about the country? Like, let's say it's rules and regulation in USA, and then in China, then let's say in South Korea, or in Dubai, in London. Is it making any difference for your platform?
Yeah, I definitely think so. And I think there's a lot of, obviously, discussion right now in the blockchain community about how regulations are bad and we need to get rid of all government and et cetera, right? Yeah. That's not the reality of the situation. Yeah. And I think the reality is very important. What I think the blockchain does for us is a very unique opportunity. Right now, let's say we want to enter Korea. Yeah. DarcMatter as a company has to build up its own legal office. And we have to get paid to do that, and then we have to enter that market manually, right? But what if we can use the token economy to reward and incentivize those in Korea to actually create the contracts that are compliant with Korea? And then any investment product from the US can link up with that smart contract and say, a Korean investor looks at this.
Exactly.
But it's the same thing, right? And the blockchain allows us to do that, and we can pay 2 lawyers in Korea that's verifying that smart contract manually, potentially, and or a developer in Korea that's developed it for the Korean market. So I don't think compliance is the bad thing, right? Compliance exists to protect the investor. Yes, there's a conspiracy theory around compliance protecting the banks. I agree with that. But that's happened over time, right? So what we have to do as entrepreneurs and as a community is that we have to stay ahead of the compliance. What I mean by that is you're actually being compliant so fast that the regulators will never be able to keep up. Oh, we've done everything and more. Because we have the technology to do that, we don't need lawyers to do that anymore.
Exactly. I mean, that is awesome. And like, let's go through these challenges that now a lot of investors out of China they have. They want to get in China. But the problem is the whole bureaucratic process and so on. A lot of rules and regulation policies. And somehow they have this challenge. If they get into Chinese market, they might lose it, or they might not be able to move out their money out of China. Yeah. How your platform can help this?
So think about that for a second, right? Like, and I don't mean for the individual itself, but let's think about it for a second in the macro level. The reason the regulations exist right now is because they can't control it. There is no audit. You can't control capital flow right now, which means they just have to shut it off. There's too many people. It's too hard to do. The technology doesn't exist to track it. What if you can? What if people are required to go through a process and say, I've been approved to invest abroad to do X, Y, Z? Then you can do it, right? It's not China that only has this regulation. Any country that uses USD as its reserve is required to go through these processes. Moving money out of Korea is not easy. Actually, you can't do it if you're like a permanent resident in the US or a citizen. You can't move USD out. Almost impossible. So it's not a China unique problem. It's a tracking problem, I think, where people are using illegal means and people are trying to get the money out because they have their own fears. But technology allows us to audit a lot of these things so that we know the money is being used in the right places, right? Any kind of legitimate investor will follow the legitimate ways. If you're just trying to get the money out, then that's going to become a problem. I think right now what's actually happening is that's the swing that always happens, right? It opens up a little bit, and then people abuse it, and then it swings all the way back, right? There is no intermediate, and I think the intermediate solutions are technologies like blockchain that says, you've been approved to move this X, Y, Z. And then we know when it's going to come back or it's not going to come back, and we can keep track.
Yeah, there are two things. The blockchain technology itself, I mean, generally, and your product. Does your product help this?
Yeah, I mean, in the future, I definitely think it can. I mean, we're not a conduit for getting money out of China. I will never say that. But I definitely think the access point is there. Like, when Chinese investors can invest abroad, let's say China opened up today, as an example, where are they going to invest? Right? Like, the real question arises as to, they're going to basically buy every house in the United States. That's what's going to happen right now because there's no choice. There's no access and there's no information. And this goes outside of the government itself. Like, the reality of this industry right now is that there is no access. And we're providing that access to Chinese investors.
Nice. How do you see your product in 5 years?
So I think We're no longer a product in 5 years, right? We're an ecosystem. We've grown into a community of contributors and participants where the investors and the asset managers and everybody that's interacting with this investment ecosystem is contributing to its security and its transparency. Right now, to be completely frank, finance services and investors are not the most technologically advanced people in the world, nor do they need to be right now. So there's a big conflict. How do you create nodes, if you will, for people that don't use email? Like, how are you going to help them create a node? And I think a lot of the job comes from DarcMatter or us to help with the education and the adoption. So in 5 years, I definitely think the world's going to be completely different. We'll no longer be just a company. We'll be contributors to this big global network of investors and money managers.
So every time any kind of disruptive technology or some companies or some platform or some ecosystem that you're building up coming into the game of any industry, they're threatening some others.
Correct.
Who are you threatening out there? Who are your competitors? Or who are those that they're resisting against your product?
We're threatening Wall Street. We're threatening basically the incumbent financial services industry. I don't think it's not that outlandish to say that we're at war with them. Like they are our primary competitors, and they will do everything in their power to stop this from happening. This is the same thing with cryptocurrency and government. This is the same thing with blockchain and financial services. If you threaten an entire industry of people, there's going to be lashback, right, in one way or another. And this is the one of the dilemma questions is, for all of these banks, that company is not big enough to represent the threat. I don't want to spend the time. That's when you have the biggest opportunity. The biggest opportunity is when they ignore you, and you can take all the clients and the ecosystem away from them.
What if you can't have them and they can't associate with your platform? You think they win more than not to associate with any part of your ecosystem?
So I think the interesting thing is, I don't foresee that the banks or these institutions go away. I think that they subconsciously become integrated into an ecosystem that they didn't know that they became a part of, right? So if somebody uses, let's say, a bank starts using PayPal, that's a death knell for that bank, right? Because now they've basically recognized that PayPal is a better solution than what they're doing, right? So I think it's the same for us. If these big fund managers, Blackstone, BlackRock, or JP Morgan or whoever, if they start using our platform, which some of them do, if they use our platform to interact with investors, they've already represented or conceded the fact that we are better at the job than they are, or we're doing it better than they are.
Can you tell us about your partners? In the whole ecosystem. Do you have any partners? Do you made any strategic agreement with any partners?
So we've actually been very careful. I mean, our partners are our users, our participants. We can't say the fund names because that would be selling the fund here. So we have a lot of big name funds, a lot of investors, financial advisors using our platform. So they're our partners. I mean, I think your best partners are your clients, right? Exactly. We've actually been very careful about not doing strategic partnerships in our growth. It ends up being very dangerous. We've seen in financial services where you sign up with a big name because you think it's a great idea, but you become become that institution's company, your portfolio. It's very, very. We've seen it happen to some of the peers. They receive a big investment from, without a name, we'll call it Greystone, and they receive a big investment. They're that company now. So we've actually been very careful of remaining very independent because we want to build up this platform.
Nice. How's it the funding part? I mean, now you're in a good process.
So we're equity-backed company, and we are at the tail end of our kind of token offering, if you will, our token or TBO, and that is going to empower us to bring in more people into the ecosystem. So that's the very interesting thing, because an equity injection is, from a mental perspective, it's used to grow the company. But now you have much more. Obviously, there's more capacity in the capital, but there's more opportunity to build an ecosystem versus just getting new clients, which I think is a very interesting way of thinking about things.
So your product, earlier you said that you have your product in this phase only based on a smart contract. So how is it, and what is the next phase?
Yeah, so the reason we've started with the smart contracts is because you need adoption.
Yeah.
You know, we talk about use case adoption like so much until we're blue in the face, but nobody actually wants to do it. Everybody wants to innovate the new next big technology.
Yeah.
So we said the smart contracts are something that everybody's interested in to make their process more efficient. But people are talking about actually tokenizing assets. That's going to take a lot of time. People don't understand the tax, the legal. How do you hold it? Nobody understands it yet. So we need to help obviously figure that out. And then the first phase is smart contracts. So all of the intermediary jobs that somebody does manually, we're going to replace those with smart contracts, every single step. And then once the understanding of the blockchain smart contracts injects itself into the industry, you can create a security offering. The security token is actually quite easy. The hard part is storing these smart contracts into that token, which hasn't been done yet. So everyone's here, but we haven't done the work for this yet.
Right.
And I think it's more important that the industry starts using this, and then we have a token fund that you can release. Any kind of VC who can plug into DarcMatter and say, I need to make this fund, I can do it in a day.
Boom.
Yeah, boom.
So how long do you think would it take?
That's a great question. Depends on how much I sleep, I guess. I think it really goes to the adoption and the education, of this whole industry. And I think we're working really hard to do that as fast as possible. But I'd say it's no sooner than, 2020 that these things start really shifting in ways that we're looking at it. We have payments and Bitcoin and things like that, but really complicated use cases are a little bit further down the road. But we're really happy that we're there very early. Like, we are very used to educating our clients in technology, and we're very good at it.
Nice. How many countries do you approach till now?
So we are in 4 countries, like I mentioned before, but we have LPs, so investors, in over 62 countries. And fund managers primarily domiciled in the U.S., but that's because most funds are just in the U.S. We are working with Chinese funds now. That have a unique interested in Chinese funds, but they have no access. So we can. The flip side, we can also provide that too.
Well, that's a good thing about your platform, because you're bringing up all those opportunities that every single account owner can be individual, can be investors. I mean, institutional or whatever, they can have those opportunities and they can make it happen through your platform. So our community that we have, it's all about crazy entrepreneurs, and it's called Crazy Community. We have crazy entrepreneurs, crazy innovators, and so on. Do you assume you yourself as a crazy entrepreneur? Or you haven't?
I'm definitely crazy.
Or you haven't gone,
I'm definitely crazy.
Or you haven't gone crazy.
I'm definitely crazy. I was crazy before I became an entrepreneur. But I definitely think, the mindset of founders and entrepreneurs are very different. There's a reason you quit a high-paying job to lose money. Like, there's a reason you do it, right? You're focused on the innovation. You're focused on change. And I think, sometimes that puts on blinders. Sometimes that gives you new perspective. But I think you're spot on. I mean, you have to be crazy.
So who's the most craziest entrepreneur you know? I mean, I can give you some names. Okay. And you can...
Sure.
Okay, you can pick one of them.
Okay. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, let's go for let's say Jack Ma.
Okay.
And let's say Elon Musk.
Okay.
Let's say Richard Branson.
Okay.
Let's say Gary Vee. I don't know.
Okay.
If you know him.
Yeah.
And then let's say the fifth one could be...
Oh, they're all alive, I guess.
Yeah. All alive one.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's say something. Bill Gates.
Okay.
The craziest.
That's interesting. That's an interesting question. I don't think people know Bill Gates' full story, so he definitely falls in the crazy camp.
Yeah.
So I'd say there's a big fight between Bill Gates and Elon Musk.
For what?
For craziest. Yeah. But I think, they're crazy in different ways, right? And I think Bill Gates is a work smart, not work hard type person, and Elon Musk is work as hard as you can and never take a vacation and lose your mind on TV. I think those two probably give a fight for their money, but since I like, Bill Gates' opening story into Microsoft, I'll
yeah.
pick Bill Gates.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
cool,
yeah.
awesome. Thank you so much, Sang.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks, Mars, for having me.
Here, yeah?
Yeah, great.
Yeah, awesome product, awesome journey that you picked.
Thank you.
Hope to have you here again.
All right, appreciate it, Mars. Thank you.
Awesome.